Hey guys, it's Neveda. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back. It's been a really long time. This is going to be a vet school part 2 video. It's going to be really talkative. It's going to be very disorganized, I'm sure, because I can never keep my thoughts straight, but it's been pretty requested since my first vet school video, and I hope that it helps anyone who is interested in applying or got in or is in vet school. And also I think a lot of the stuff that I'll kind of talk about is going to be helpful if you're just in grad school itself or pursuing any type of graduate degree. Before we get into the video, there's a few things that I kind of want to shout out. This video is not sponsored by any means. I just have a lot of products, well, not a lot, but kind of animal related products that I've been in love with, and I really think that their companies deserve a shout out. So the first is the shirt that I'm wearing, which is my own dog. So this is Django. Django's my dog, and I have him on a background that says Dogue, kind of like Vogue. This is by the company PopYourPup, and I'll leave their links in the description down below, and you can also find them on Instagram. But basically you send in a picture of your dog and they kind of cartoon it and put the image up on either you can pick t-shirts, tank tops, actual shirts, long sleeves, and then you can also get it on posters or canvases. So I actually also got a canvas. Let me get that for you, and you can also see Django so you could see how perfect the image is captured. So this is the shirt, right? And then now this is the canvas, and it's huge. It is so beautiful. I'm in love, and I'm actually gonna put it up above my bed. I don't know if that's weird. Django, come here. Okay, so if you guys don't remember Django, this way, bud. This is Django. Hi, say hi. Compared to this. Come here. Alright, well, that's the best you're gonna get. But essentially, they make really, really nice products, and they basically replicate your animal in a cartoon form. And if you're obsessed with your pet the way I am, you should definitely check them out. These pictures specifically of Django were taken in Philadelphia by a photographer. His name is Caleb, and he's actually a Penn student, or he actually just graduated Penn. He does photography kind of on the side, and he's amazing. I will leave his information in the description box also. While we're here talking about animal stuff, and again, none of this is sponsored, I just really like these things. I have something called a friendship collar, which is essentially you match your collar, or you match your dog's collar with an accessory. Back up, come on, one more time. Django's collar is the same as my little bracelet. And again, that's just an over obsessive thing you can do for your pet. Okay, let's get into this video, which is my vet school journey part 2. My first video, which I will leave a link to as well, is basically kind of how to get into vet school, what to do prior to getting in, or at least what I did. So I went through middle school, high school, college, and then getting into vet school. So this one is going to be pretty much just about vet school. I guess also my future plans moving forward. I guess we'll start with you've applied. I guess we can also kind of go over just the application process itself. The application process is basically a huge little VCMA something. It's an online application, and that's your general application. Then you have supplements that most schools will also require. So my advice for if you're applying right now is really do your research on which schools you're applying to, and make sure that you have the supplemental questions that they're asking, and also that you've kind of checked off all of their prereqs. Make sure that you have all of the prereqs done for the colleges that you're applying to, or the universities that you're applying to, because various different vet schools do ask different things. So you don't want to be halfway into your application and realize that you can't even actually apply there because you're behind on a prereq or something like that. I want to say a good 2 to 3 weeks for your personal statement, because trust me, your first draft is never going to be the one. Neither is your second, probably not even your third either. It took me about 2 weeks of completely rewriting my personal statement in order to get the best one. And you will know when that's it, when it's your perfect personal statement. So give yourself a few weeks, because you'll write it, the next day you'll wake up, you'll read it, and you'll be like, oh my god, this is horrible. I need to do it again. And that's gonna happen a lot. So you don't want to be just a few days before you have to submit your application and realize that you don't like your personal statement and you simply don't have time to kind of like revamp it. Also, while we're talking about the process of applying, a lot of people ask like, how do I know what school to go to? And to be honest, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and some will weigh more heavily for others. I've said this in my previous video. My main thing was like distance. I needed to be close to my family, and I also didn't want to be in the middle of like nowhere. I knew I wasn't going to be happy there, and I knew I couldn't spend 4 years there, much less like a very tedious, strenuous curriculum in a place that I wasn't happy. I would say visit the schools that you're applying to. You can also apply and then go there to visit during the interview process, and so if you're confident enough that you're going to get in, you can visit during that point, and then you can say no if you want to if you get in. But yeah, there's a lot of schools in the Midwest or something that don't have the city experience that, you know, Tufts or Penn might have. And so that may be something that you want or you don't want. For me, I kind of wanted to be close to family, and that was a really, really defining factor. Another thing is know what programs your school offers and what they're kind of known for. Penn, being somewhere in the city, has a really high small animal caseload, and their teaching hospital for small animals is like booming, and they have all the advancements, all the technologies, and it's really great. While you have somewhere like Cornell, which is like amazing and like extraordinary with large animal services. So yes, choose a school based on name, but also know what more it can give you and how it's going to benefit you 4 years after you start. Like when you're about to graduate and enter the world as a vet, which school is going to give you the best kind of education. If you can, try to talk to people who have gone to the schools that you apply to. I can tell you that after coming to the school I go to, I came to realize that some other schools are really, really like strict. Like you have to dress up in business casual to go to class. You have to go to class, like it's mandatory, and I would not have been able to go to school like that. I don't go to class, and I'll be very honest about that. It's not because I'm a bad student, but it's because I truly don't learn as well in a classroom setting. If forced to, I can, but when you have 9 hours of class a day, I cannot sit there and be efficient. It's not really a good use of my time, especially when another 9 hours involves studying. So for me, thankfully, my school offers lecture recordings of every single lecture, so I still hear the professor in real time. Well, not in real time, but I still hear the professor from that morning or something like that, and I can pause, I can rewind, I can double speed it if I need to, I can slow it down if I need to, and I still get the classroom experience without whatever cons it may have for me personally. So if I were to ever go to a vet school that had like mandatory attendance for every single class, I promise you my grades would not be that great, and it wouldn't be an efficient use of my time, and I probably would not learn as well as I do in this setting. So that's definitely something good to know, and that's why it's really great to talk to people who go to vet school and kind of get a feel for the different schools. I really don't think that vet school is something that you can just like jump into and be like, hey, it'll be fine, because like it's too hard. So you really need to make the decision that's best for yourself and that's going to provide you the best environment for you to kind of like flourish. So let's say you did all your homework, you applied, and you chose a school, so you're in, right? Now what? What to expect, I guess, is everyone's main concern, and then how do you study and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm going to start with what to expect. Vet school is really, really difficult. I am in my 3rd year, and every single year people have dropped out to pursue other like career changes, and half of it is because they want to do something different, like vet school wasn't exactly what they thought it was going to be, and then half of it is because it's just like too hard and you don't expect it to be this hard coming in. So when I say hard, do I mean everyone's gonna do badly and get bad grades? No, it's hard because you're kind of thrown into something you're not expecting, and even you listening to me and understanding, okay, like I know it's gonna be hard, I know it's gonna be a lot, you're still not gonna be prepared. So that's why it's hard, because you have to find your way really fast. It's kind of like you're thrown into water and you have to like learn how to swim. It's hard, number one, because of the scheduling. For my school, you have class every day, and then you have that class again the next day, and the next day, and the next. So essentially for each exam, the amount of information that you're tested on, and you'll hear this from everyone who's like goes to vet school and med school and dental school, I'm sure, the amount of information that you're tested on in each exam for each subject in vet school is about like a semester's worth of information that you probably learned in college. That's like the best way to try to compare how much you have to sit and memorize. It is a lot. You have to actually figure it out for yourself. The best way to study is what's good for you. So I must have experimented with everything. Like I tried flashcards, couldn't do it because the time it took to make flashcards, that was it. That's all the time I had. So that was not efficient for me. I tried taking notes on my PowerPoints like as I was listening to lectures and then going back and studying off the PowerPoints, and that was a little bit too, it wasn't focused enough, and for some reason for me it was not easy to study that way. I know a lot of people do study that way, so if you want to try that out, do it. If you have a PowerPoint, in the little notes section underneath it, write your notes so that every time you go over your slides you have that additional information, and like repetition is key, so the more you do it, it'll stick like that. That'll also help with like visual learners who will sit on an exam and know like, okay, that information was on that slide and this is what I had written for that slide. So a lot of studying and memorizing has to do with that kind of like remembering what you wrote where. And then what I figured out, which I didn't figure out till like second year, second semester, was my way, like my best way of studying is to listen to the lecturer using whatever supplemental guide that they've given, whether it be notes, like a Word document or an actual PowerPoint. But I'll listen and pause and I'll take notes with literally verbatim what the lecturer says, and I'll write that down either on the PowerPoint or the document. And then I will go back and basically make my own study guide, usually on a Word document, and bold, highlight, underline, screenshot pictures and diagrams and put that onto my study guide and like make my own study guide that way. Then I'll print out my study guide and go in with like colored pens and highlighters and like re-highlight, bold, and underline things as I'm reading through the handout again and again. And eventually that sticks for me. It's a combination of like things popping out at you, helping you remember what's important, reading over it again and again, and I like that I have it in like a little stapled packet. For me, that's super easy. I don't like it on my computer. And then also like knowing what's what, like remembering, okay, ooh, I highlighted that in blue and it'll come back to me on a test. A lot of vet school is figuring out what way of studying is best for you and what way of learning is best for you. Like if you're not going to class, that's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't let other people make you feel guilty about it. It's how you learn. I can't tell you how many people I see sit in class and just sit on Facebook and then they have to go listen to the lecture again anyway. So I've done that so many times and I've come to terms with the fact that it's a waste of my time and I'd rather just listen to it once on my own and be done with it. As far as studying goes, I study every day. School just started for me. Third year just started, so I want to say I give it like 2 weeks before I get into the grind. Like I'm kind of just bumming, but when the studying actually starts, I study and all my colleagues study every single day, and you study minimum like 5 to 6 hours a day, and it can go anywhere from like 12 to 14 hours a day when there are exams. And that's in addition to being in class, or if you're like me, listening to the class material, whatever. For a daily like life as a student, like the daily life as a student, if you're someone who goes to class, for the first 2 years at least, it was like 9 to 5. Some days were really nice. It was 9 to 2, 9 to 3. And then you'd maybe take like an hour break just to kind of chill and get yourself back together, and then go sit in the library from 5 to like midnight or 5 to 11. And then the days that it was closer to exams or the middle of midterms or final weeks, you would stay longer at the library or you'd start to skip classes, and then usually the last week while there are exams there are no classes, but you get up, you go to school at 9 a.m. and you sit in the library from 9 to 9, that's 12 hours, and then maybe to midnight, so that's easily like 15 hours. And it's not like once in a while, it's every single day. It sounds like it's so hard, but it's like the first time that's hard, the first time that you're kind of just like, ooh, this is a lot. But the thing is, it becomes a habit, and honestly, you don't really have anything else to do. There aren't that many other responsibilities other than study, get good grades, and learn what you need to learn. So there's almost like a little bit of a comfort in knowing like, gonna go to sleep tonight, wake up, and go back to the library tomorrow, and that's it, day after day. So it's not that bad in terms of like having such a busy schedule because you're not really doing much else other than studying, but I will tell you it is very mentally exhausting. Like I'm pretty sure every student has highs and lows every week. Like some days will be good days and some days will be bad days, and it's actually really nice to be amongst other vet school people who are going through the same thing, and you kind of just like talk it out and, you know, talk about your grievances. So when you have a schedule that's as tedious and trying as this is, how do you have a life outside of it? And that is entirely up to you. You don't have to have like a crazy party life or something like that in vet school, and most of you will not, because it's not even because you can. I'm sure you can make the time for anything if you actually wanted to. But you start to realize that it's kind of like a give and take, and why go out and do that and be tired the next day that you need to study when you can kind of just have alone time and just take a breather for yourself. I find that a lot of my extra time is spent just hanging out with my friends, not doing anything crazy, but just having like a glass of wine together or something like that. We go to the gym a lot, and the gym has become like my number 2 activity to do. So like if I'm not studying and I have a little bit of time, I will go to the gym. And any other free time I have, I watch TV. Literally by myself. I don't like to go out that much anymore. I want to just sit in bed with my animals and watch TV. Weekends that are slower, so like let's say there's not an exam the upcoming week, those nights we'll usually go out and drink and have a good time and all that good stuff. And honestly, there are like weekdays that people go to happy hours too, so it's not like you don't have a life by being in vet school. It's just that you have to be very diligent with how you plan it. So spiraling off that idea, the whole idea of having a pet in vet school, I highly encourage it. I didn't get a pet until my second semester that I got Django, my dog, and then fast forward a few months, I got my cat. So now I have a dog and a cat, and the cat I've only had during the summer, so I can't say like how it benefited me during the school year, but Django I had during my hardest semester thus far, and it was honestly like a blessing in disguise. At first, obviously, it was hard to like train a dog, but within the first few weeks, like the bond was, honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything else, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that like he got me through vet school or like he got me through that hardest semester. So I would spend, also, key is that he's well trained and I could just leave him alone for hours on end, but I'd be out of the apartment for like 12 hours studying and come back, and to have this dog that's just so excited to see you and give like all the love that he can, it really, really makes a difference, especially when you're stressed out. So if you want a pet, get a pet, because it's so helpful, and like, come on, that's part of what you came to vet school for. It's so nice having a pet in vet school because you have so many resources around you to help take care if you need it, to like just give you advice and support and all of that good stuff. So I know a lot of people think like, oh, let me like feel it out at first, and by all means, yeah, feel it out, but don't think that vet school is a reason that you shouldn't get a pet, because if anything, it's a good reason to get a pet. Okay, so next is experience. You got into vet school, you're doing great, you're getting good grades, all of that, and people just always want more from you, right? So you need to build experience. But the thing about experience in vet school is that you don't have to do it for your resume anymore. Obviously, it's beneficial for your resume and you don't want to not do anything, but the main reason to be getting experience in vet school is because 4 years or less, depending on when you're watching this video, 4 years later, you're going to be thrown into the real world as a vet. Not just the title of a vet, but you will have animals coming to you and you make the executive decision, and so that's a life in your hand. Just learning things out of a book is not going to prepare you for that kind of scenario, and vet schools do their best to give you clinical experience, but it's still not going to be enough. You have to do stuff on the side, things that you're interested in at least, to help you prepare for being an actual real-world veterinarian. The best I can do right now is just tell you guys what I'm doing. So I started working at our vet school's medical colony. So it's the animals that we treat there. And by the way, any job that you hold after you begin vet school will be so different from any job that you've had prior to vet school, because although it sucks, no matter your age, like before vet school, people are not gonna think of you in more than just like, oh, you're a helper, or you're a tech, or you're just volunteering shadowing. Even if you're just a tech, volunteering, shadowing, but you're in vet school with any of those position titles, you're gonna get so much more responsibilities. People are gonna view you as an actual future doctor and let you do more. Not just because they see you like that, but also because the veterinary industry is kind of built like that. Most of the vets wanna help the younger kids, you know, become vets, because the industry is so small and tight-knit, and so I can see myself wanting to kind of like encourage students and whatnot to be the best vet that they can be. So treating the animals has given me a lot of confidence working with animals and doing some things that I used to kind of do passively, and now I am more knowledgeable about it and like more comfortable that I can do it on my own in the real world. So basically things like physical exam and actual physical exams, and being able to hear something like an abnormality in the heart or like different lung sounds, and knowing when a lymph node is weird. So things like that you have to just do again and again to be able to know what's normal versus abnormal. Things like taking blood or giving injections or vaccines, catheters, inducing. So it's a lot of different things that give you that kind of experience. And no matter where you go, I want to say as like a vet student, you'll be able to get that kind of experience. And that's really, really important in terms of coming out of vet school and being a confident, like, first-time veterinarian. Even though this is a job, it is part-time, and by part-time, I don't even mean like 10, 20 hours a week. It's like 2 hours because you only get like one day because there are other students that do it, and it is essentially minimum wage. So it's not a good way to make money. I mean, I'm sure pocket money, lunch money is better than nothing, but most vet students don't really hold actual jobs. Like, I don't really know anyone that goes to class and then also works part-time at a clinic as a tech or something like that. It's really hard, gives you very little time to study. So most of the jobs that are held are things that the school offers that's kind of like do it at your own pace, take as many hours as you want. So as far as like jobs in vet school, I know a lot of people ask about that. I wouldn't recommend it. I think no job is gonna give you the money to pay off your vet school debt. So I think you should take the time that you're in vet school to like focus on your grades and getting experience and not worry so much about earning like a part-time salary. But if you are given an opportunity that is like really good animal hands-on clinical experience and it happens to pay and the hours work like good for you, then by all means go for it. Most of those kind of things happen during the summer. So before clinics start, basically, before your clinical rotation start, which is usually as a 3rd or 4th year student, depending on what vet school you go to, you have your first 2 summers free, just like you do for any college or university. It's really, really important to try to get a lot of experience in those summers. Again, not for your resume, but because this is the time in between like daily classes that you have to just go and do things with animals. So for me, I did something called RAVS both summers, and RAVS is Rural America Veterinary Services, and it's basically a program held by HSVMA, which is Humane Society Veterinary Medical Associations. Basically what this is, it's a program that you apply to, and it takes about like 30 vet students, it takes some veterinary professionals, and puts them together in various different, very low income reservations, so Native American reservations throughout America that truly cannot take care of their animals, either because they're so poor and they can't afford to take care of their animals, or because they're so like isolated and desolate that the nearest vet is 3 or 4 hours away and they don't have a car to get them there. I highly recommend this program. This was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. You basically went for like a 1 or 2 week trip, and it was entirely funded, so you gave wellness exams, vaccinations for free, and then also did spay and neuters for free to the people of these reservations, or the animals of the people of the reservation. This program is good for 2 reasons and for 2 types of people. It's good because if you're like me and that's kind of the route that you want to follow, which is kind of shelter medicine, you know, helping the needy, charity work, nonprofit, like that whole deal, this is so great because you meet these vets who are doing this as their career. Like, they've devoted their lives to helping those who don't, you know, get what most people that we know get. This is great for that. This is going to put you in the right connections with everyone that you need to know and help you build a future for yourself. This kind of program is also good for people who want to do something different. Like, even if you want to do an internship and a residency and specialize and be a doctor at like a really nice private practice, this is really good for you because as a 1st or 2nd year student, you're going to be able to perform wellness exams without anyone around you, without a doctor, without supervision. You're going to be able to like kind of come up with like a diagnosis, or at least be able to like work up a patient, and you're going to get surgery experience. You'll actually be working with a vet. And this summer I did like a few spays and a few neuters, and for the most part I did it myself with the vet standing next to me, and I was able to do this as a 1st year student also because I did it my 1st year summer. Whatever direction you want to go to, these kind of programs, not only are you helping people in need, but you're getting such great experience that you're not gonna get in vet school until maybe your 3rd or 4th year. So to be able to do surgery as a 1st year student or a 2nd year student is really, really remarkable. There are various different trips offered like this. I know a bunch of my fellow vet students went to Haiti, they went to Thailand, there are spay and neuter programs all over the world that you can do for like credit and or just as a volunteer experience and just get a lot of like surgery experience under your belt. If you already did a program like that, or let's say you don't even want to do something like that, you can also definitely work as a veterinary student for the teaching hospital that you go to school at. I know a lot of my friends worked with the emergency services department or worked in radiology or worked in like internal medicine. That is more of like a shadowing experience because they already have clinical residents and fourth years who are doing the work that they're supposed to be learning. So a lot of that is like shadowing or similar to like teching work. Any case, it's still a good way to, number one, make connections and then also gain experience. I guess what I'm trying to say is that like when you come to vet school, focus on your grades, number one, and be able to balance your studying and like that kind of stuff, but also try to get experience, not because you need it to apply for stuff, but because you need it to be a vet. And vet school moves really, really fast. And I promise you, whether or not you came in with clinical experience, to take on the role of a vet and be able to have the confidence to like say and do things and have it be your decision making, it's very, very intimidating. And the more experience you have, the better you'll be at being able to kind of handle that. So I always sit down at these videos and talk, and then I get confused as to whether I'm being helpful or not, because like at this point I don't really know what I talked about. I feel like I blabbered a lot, and I'm not sure if it was any actual viable, helpful information. So I'm probably still gonna put this up, but please feel free to comment any questions or concerns, or if I was confusing in any way, and I will try to kind of answer all of your questions and comments. I did want to talk about myself, my plan, how vet school's been going for me, and what I plan to do in the future. So I'm a third year right now. For me, I've had 2 full years of learning. So this is literally lectures, basically PowerPoints, and I have 1 more semester and then I'll be going into rotations. And what rotations is, it's rotating around the hospital, the teaching hospital, and in 2-week intervals, you basically rotate through every single department and gain that experience. And you essentially act like a vet the whole time. And then you have an actual veterinarian or clinician who's gonna kind of help you through it. So vet school, if many of you don't know, or the vet field itself, offers everything that you could relate to human medicine. So oncology, ophthalmology, orthopedic, surgery, like neonates, all of that stuff. So 2 weeks in each of those, I will be taking in patients, I'll be working up the patients, coming up with a diagnosis, coming up with the differentials, hopefully a treatment. So I'm super excited for that, because after 2.5 years of just sitting there and listening and learning and memorizing, I am so ready to get out and actually like do stuff. Also for me, a lot of my learning experience, which is essentially memorizing, has been for the sake of an exam. And I can honestly say I don't think I've retained that much. Like if you were to ask me something that I memorized for an exam and probably did well on, I probably couldn't answer you. And for me, I feel that that's because I think retention is with repetition. And I think repetition is key. And I think repetition needs to be hands-on. So I need to see a patient with like diabetes and work through it in like a real-time live scenario to be able to know that the next time a patient comes in, to know if it has diabetes and what I'm supposed to look for. You can only learn so much on paper before it's just kind of draining and you can't connect it with how you're going to use it in the real world. So I'm really excited for clinics. There's still going to be a lot of studying. What I have heard from everyone is that clinics doesn't mean that you're done with studying. Clinics means that you like look what cases you're going to have the next day and read up on the information that might have to do with it, so that you're not just kind of like blindsided when you get there. So I am excited for clinics, mainly because I'm excited to learn how to be a real vet. As far as future plans go, I do want to stick with this whole helping the needy type of deal. So in my mind, that falls under the category of shelter medicine. I am very interested in kind of cruelty investigation and forensics medicine, and then also high quality, high volume spay neuters to kind of help with overpopulation. I'm also interested in helping people who may not have all of the resources to take care of their animals, so that is essentially part of shelter medicine and nonprofit organizations that do that. As far as how to get there, I have a few externships booked. So what are externships and how do they relate to your clinical rotations? Your clinical rotations, at least for my school, all of them are done at our teaching hospital. Yes, we have radiology and like oncology and all like your very kind of private practice-esque rotations, but we don't really offer things like cruelty investigation or forensics. We do have a shelter medicine program and I'll be doing that for 2 weeks, but I need more. I need more that maybe that my school doesn't offer. So I can do that via externships at other schools, other organizations. So I will be doing a cruelty and forensics externship with the ASPCA in New York, and I feel like that should be really eye-opening and give me an idea of like what I'm gonna get myself into. I think that'll be a great way to just kind of know that I'm on the right path. And then hopefully when I'm actually ready to work, I would love to be an actual veterinarian at a shelter or a rescue organization or like Humane Society or something like that, where I can do comprehensive medicine, so practice actual medicine as a veterinarian, and then also be able to kind of take in cruelty cases and negligence and abuse, and then also hopefully, if it works out in such a way, be able to fight cases and like be that kind of documents, you know, abuse and like medical notes that you can actually present in court to fight cases. So it's a lot. I don't really know if everything I'm saying is accurate. It's still a learning experience, and I'm probably actually going to start getting into it in around January. So I will definitely keep you guys updated, and if any of you are interested in what I'm interested, comment below. If you feel like you're in the same boat as me, definitely send me an email and maybe I can help you or we can help each other out. But I think that's it. I'm still going to keep studying for the next semester and then rotations and then hopefully graduate in another year. I hope that this video had some decent information in it. If it didn't, just leave your questions down below and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. Good luck with applications or good luck with vet school if that's where you're headed. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.